I received a query from a reader of businessprogrammer.com. What he wanted to do was grab information from an order management website, paste it into various spreadsheets, and then format the data so that it could be uploaded to an accounting system for billing purposes. I do believe you will learn enough useful points to make watching it worthwhile. You'll also be able to download the spreadsheets that go with this tutorial at businessprogrammer.com. The exact page for this will be in the description under this YouTube, if you're watching it on YouTube, video. And you can get the code right here if you're watching it on businessprogrammer.com. Now let's get back to the data that needs consolidating. The data consists of several worksheets beginning with the name raw, such as raw 1, raw 2, etc. Each worksheet contains customer information and order details for one customer only. Several of these sheets need to be consolidated into a single sheet containing a data list with just the necessary information required in order to upload it to the billing system. The stuff that we need is highlighted in yellow, so we need to grab the order number, the shipping address, the phone number, and the billing address, plus some extra information on optional shipping fees and surcharges. Below that, commencing with the tag product code, we have a data list of line items that the customer ordered. However, we only import rows that fulfill certain criteria based on the status column in Excel, it's column H. For example, here on sheet raw 1, we only need to import the first line item on row 43 because the status information for the other item on row 44, cell H44, indicates that the order was cancelled. Similarly, on worksheet raw 5, the area in yellow will not be imported because rows 47 and 48 are merely a repeat of the header. We will capture for this by filtering out data that has items complete or product code in column 1, and the status column indicates vendor out of stock. The reader wants the end result to look like the result sheet here, which shows customer details being combined with each line item to result in an easily uploadable data set for the accounting system. Some adjustments that have to be done in code are that the business programmer reader wanted only the first 3 columns of billing address and shipping address to be populated, with the last 2 left empty, such that regardless of how many lines were in the input data, the first column of the uploaded data should just contain the first entry, and column 3 of the uploaded data contains the last entry, which he hopes will be state and zip code, and all other address information gets concatenated into column 2. The reader also wanted to tag as taxable all items shipped to Maryland, USA, which we grab using the MD state abbreviation and update the MD tax column appropriately. This tutorial will demonstrate how all of this was accomplished using Excel and its macro language, Visual Basic for Applications, VBA. If you're watching this tutorial on businessprogrammer.com, you will have the opportunity to sign up and get the files that go along with this so you can get a better understanding of how it's done and even grab the code. And if you're watching it on YouTube, pop over to businessprogrammer.com. You'll find the exact URL of this blog post in the notes under the video. First of all, let's examine the spreadsheet that contains the raw data. The input data has been split out such that each customer has their own worksheet with the tab beginning with the name raw. This is important because when iterating over the worksheets later, we can restrict our loop to sheets that begin with the name raw. Here we have the Vba Editor. You can quickly get to it from Excel by pressing Alt and the F11 key at the same time. I have sketched out in Notepad the big picture of how this program works. Here you can see the structure of the code in terms of the calling list for procedures. We kick off with the only public procedure in this module called grab workbook. This gets a reference to the already opened workbook that contains the raw sheets that we wish to consolidate. It then calls process order list, which clears out the results worksheet but keeps the headers which are important to the process, and then starts to loop over each of the raw data worksheets by detecting the string raw somewhere in the worksheet tab name. Within this loop, we make a call to the grab sheet data subroutine. The code here is responsible for grabbing all the data that's going to end up in the output sheet. Grab sheet data in turn delegates the details of further processing to 3 separate mini programs named grab order details, grab product line details, and write results details. Let's now look at grab order details. If we look at the code plan, you can see that it makes numerous calls to 4 procedures, namely grab data after tag, clean up single line info, clean up multi-line info, and make shipping 3 lines. What I have done here is made a complicated problem simple. No routine does too much. The problem has been broken into bite-sized manageable chunks, and the code is readable. Any tasks that are likely to be repeated or that are complicated make it into a procedure. That way, the code is easy to read by other people or yourself when you come back to it in a week later and wonder what you were doing. So let's have a look here. We can see that I want to grab the order number. Grab data after tag is a function that I wrote to return information based on its input arguments. In this case, I pass in a range variable representing column A of the spreadsheet. Then I pass it the start tag to look for, then the end tag, then how I want to describe it in the program, then the column name for it that is used in the results sheet, and finally whether it's going to contain text or a number. So although this routine does a lot, it is neat and easy on the eyes. Grab order details was called by grab sheet data, so we can see that the next procedure to be called is grab product line details. Here we pass 2 variables as arguments to the procedure, namely WKS for the raw worksheet and call line items, a collection variable that will hold all the line items for this customer that we will tie up with the customer data and then upload to the accounting system. Then finally we have write results details, which does what it says on the tin. It writes the results that are held in the variables call order details, which is holding the customer account data, and call line items, which are the purchases for this transaction. Let's step through the code and watch it do its thing. So I'm displaying the Vba Editor at the same time, so we're now going to start debugging. So I'm pressing the F8 key. Here we're getting a reference to the open workbook raw results.xlm. Now I'm going to go into process order list. Getting a reference to the worksheet result, which is the one displayed here, and now this gets a reference to the used range, offsets at 1 row, which therefore keeps the header, and there you go, all the data is cleared out except for the header. The header is required because when we're writing data to this sheet, I'm going to be doing finds on a range reference that references row 1 of this data, and that's getting the reference to the header, and range put that you've just seen is in this instance referencing cell A2. This will be moved as we process through the data. The code will now iterate over each of these worksheets, but will only process sheets that have the name raw in them. In this instance, the first sheet does not have raw, so it's overlooked. Second sheet does have raw, and now we're going to pass in the reference worksheet raw, which is assigned in the first line of this loop. And so worksheet raw is going in as an argument, and as is also range put, which was defined above as well. So we're creating 2 collection variables. These will hold the order details information as previously explained and the line item information. And now we're going to grab the order details. Here we want to get a reference to the first column of the order data. That first column being column A in this instance. So if I just highlight it, you can see we're going to be passing in this particular column as a range reference, and the code in this routine that I'm just going through is aiming to find order. It's aiming to find the shipping data, the phone number, billing address, and as previously mentioned, standard shipping and heavy shipping. It will actually search these tags in this column, and then later on it will move to getting the line item data as mentioned here, and therefore pulling out this particular information here, but looking at status and cancelled from the perspective of does it import it or not. So we got the reference. Now we're going to grab the data after the tag. You can see that the start tag that's been passed in is the order number. The end tag is the order number as well, so that's telling the code that effectively we only want 1 line grabbed. The description of the tag within the program is going to be order number, but it's also looking for the upload tag. We've also entered an upload tag of order hash, and you can see in the results sheet above the tag in column E, order hash. So that's basically the location that it has to be put to, or more to the point, the column that the order number has to be put to. So if we look at what we've got from the running of that function, so grab data after tag has populated the vResult variant variable, and if we open it out, you can see the name, we're describing this as the order number. The results are going to be written to the order ## column, and the items to be written are held in vResult1, and in this instance it holds the order number. This order number is going to be cleaned up here with this function, and so now you can see that vResult0, so this is an array, and so in position 0 of the array we're holding the order number. In position 1 of the array we hold what's known as a collection variable, and in this instance there's only one item in the collection, and that's the order number. And then position 2 of the array holds the name of the column in the results sheet that data is going to be written to, and position 3 is actually telling us that it's text. That's got to be written as text. And this is where we add the result of that to another collection called call order details. So let's just check call order details. So if we expand call order details, you can see it's a collection variable. It's got nothing in it right now, but as soon as I add that, you can see now call order details contains one item, and the item is the vResult variable, and we can identify what it contains because at position 0 it's got order number, and we just clean out vResult. And similarly, I create a new vResult to grab the shipping info. If we expand that again, you can see position 0 identifies this as being shipping info, and the area it's going to be written to is an area beginning with the name ship address. And in this instance, the shipping info has 4 items in it. However, the next procedure is going to clean that up because the specifications for this particular application are that there are only 3 lines of address information. After I run this procedure, you will see a new structure to the position vResult1, and there you go. So vResult1 now is tagged in vResult0 with shipping info, but item 1 is the name of the person, item 2 contains some of the address information, but item 3 contains city and state, which is what we want, and so on, grabbing the phone number, grabbing the billing address, grabbing the standard shipping, heavy shipping, and then we just clean that out. So now if I look at call order details again in the locals window, you can see that we've got 6 line items that have been grabbed in these order details, and it's all customer information: order number, shipping info, phone number, billing address, standard shipping information, and heavy shipping surcharge. Using the locals window to inspect your variables enables you to write code to a higher standard and makes the whole job a lot easier. Grab product line details. So if we look at call line items, we have, for a given customer, we've got all our line item details there. So the given customer in this instance would be the phone number displayed there, which I'm not going to show, the shipping info. So in this instance we have a given customer, so all of these particular line items pertain to the customer and order detail that's held there. So now to write the results to the sheet, I'm going to do that one more time. The problem that I'm beginning to experience here is that there's just way too much going on in this video, and it's going to be too long if I explain every single detail of what I've done here. So my suggestion to you would be to go over to businessprogrammer.com and sign up for my mailing list. I've got an address for the web page that goes with this particular video under the video if you're watching it on YouTube, and if you're watching it on Business Programmer, well, you are on that web page. What I will do is put out subsequent videos which explain in detail what's going on in each of these procedures. But for now, let me just go into, I guess, grab order details and see if I can show you in detail some of the stuff that's going on right now. So we're going to look for something that begins and ends with the name order hash. So if we go in there, so what we're doing here is we're getting a reference to range temp, and these are the range call, range start tag, end tag. So start tag contains order hash, end tag contains order hash. So within range call, which is basically the first column, range call.parent. Within VBA you have a hierarchy, so the parent of a range is actually the worksheet that it's sitting on. So what range call.parent is actually saying is range call.parent, well, that's the parent worksheet, so all of this means worksheet dot range, and then to build up your range variable we're looking for range column dot find start tag order, so and then end tag, which is again order. So it's basically find me the range beginning with the cell that has order hash in it and ending with the cell that has order hash in it. You'll notice here I say look at Excel parts, so this means the whole cell doesn't have to be order hash, it just has to partially contain order hash, and I'm not too worried. In fact, I don't want it to use case specificity, so take any item regardless of case, and then this closing bracket here is parenthesis is the end of the range argument, so this being the opening parenthesis to range. So we're looking for the start tag order hash. So we can see within the first column, when it does a find within this column, it will find order hash on row 9. Well, it'll grab the range address. So now if I hover the cursor over range temp, you can see it refers to the cell that contains order number 004877. And so now we're just doing a test to see how many rows are in range temp, and we know it's one row, so it's not greater than one row. So now we're just doing some processing to adjust range temp, and we're creating a new collection, and we're putting so basically what this is, if not is empty range cell, what it's saying in a nutshell is if the cell isn't blank, we add it to the collection, because what we don't want to do is just add blank cells that don't contain anything to the output. And seeing as there was only one cell, we're no longer interested in looping again, and we set the range temp variable to nothing to get rid of it. And then, given this is a function that we're dealing with, if we scroll up you can see it's a function, private function get data, grab data after tag, and the function has a data type of variant. So with a function you return a value, whereas with a subroutine you don't. So you return the value by setting the name of the function to the value you're going to return. But I'm returning the value as a complex package, which is the array. So I create an array, and I'm saying the first element of the array is going to be the tag description that we passed in as an argument, which is order number. The second is going to be this collection called call out. So if we look here, the collection call out contains this information. So this collection here is going to be put into the second position. So this is position 0, this is position 1, and we're putting in the output column into the third position, and the fourth position we're passing in the data type. And again, if we look at the result we've got from the function was vResult, which we created via the array I just showed you, and the result of the array is this is what it looks like when it's created with the order information. Again, I want to strip out the order text and just have the number, and that's what this cleanup single line info does. If I go into it quickly, it's getting the length of the tag. And so for example, the tag that's come in is order hash, it's got the length of it, and now we're just cleaning up the tag, or we're getting the tag order number, and what we're doing is using the combination of lowercase left vResult tag length, which is the vResult 1.item1. Well, let's just show it to you here. vResult 1.item1 is the tag, so we know that the tag at the beginning is 7 in length. So what we're going to do here is basically clean the tag out of it and just leave the number, and that's done by manipulating the collection. With a collection you can't actually change the items in the collection, you've got to add a new replacement and then remove the replacement. And again, we're just grabbing all the other information, and I'm just going to step out of this, and I'm going to step out again. So now we're back at grab product line details, and if I press Shift F8 to step over it, and now I'm going to write the result details. So basically for the second iteration of this, we've got 4 line items that we wish to write, and we've got different particular pieces of information in each of the line items. So what the code is effectively going to do is it is going to match up each of these line items against the correct area in the result sheet. So for example, here we have product code, and it's going to find product code in cell A1, and it's going to write product code into the appropriate line, because in this instance range put has now been moved to refer to cell A3, so the code's got a left anchor reference, so to speak, and it's just going to use the combination of intersect to say, it'll say, for example, I know I'm on this row, and then it will look, for example, description, and it knows description is in this column, and the intersect point of both of those will be that particular position, and it writes the data into there. So it's here set range header, it's got a reference to row 1 of this results spreadsheet, and now I wrote a subroutine called get intersect cell just to keep the code a bit cleaner, but basically in this instance we're getting the intersection of range header and range put, and what we're doing is we're sending in product code. So basically in this instance it's going to find product code in row 1 and get the column that's in, and then it's going to intersect with that range put, which will be row 3. So here we go, we're getting the intersection here. So this is using the Excel VBA function called intersect, which returns a range reference. And so within intersect, I'm looking at range header, which is row 1. I'm saying find me the product code, which you can see in this instance is in column A. Look at the whole of the cell. I'm not interested in matching on case sensitivity. When you've found product code, which here it's in cell 1, A1, then get a selection to the entire column. That will have the effect of building a range reference to all of column A. And then with range row, which is derived from range put, get the entire row. So the intersection of row 3 and product code with its entire column will be cell A3, and this particular piece of data will get written to cell A3. There you go, the product code has been written to cell A3. Similarly, description is populated, and the next item to be populated using those same procedures will be the unit price and the quantity, and then we're going to load order details. There you go, all the data consolidated neatly.